Namaste, Jai Bharat. After the Sydney terror attack, typically in the Kashmir Pahalgam model by terrorists, Pakistan is the worst affected nation because we had always been talking to the world that Pakistan is a terrorism producing factory, a terrorist hub, because we see that Pakistan has got four defense forces. They have a fourth estate. Apart from the army, navy, and air force, they also have a terrorist wing, which is, I call that as the fourth estate of Pakistani military. And Pakistan is only all about the military. They had been designing, structuring, and running that state irrespective of a namesake democratic government, whether they or not makes no difference to their structure. They had always been structured into a military regime. The democracy was always a showcase and insignificant to that society, because the people themselves regard army beyond everything. That is how they had been designed right from childhood, socially designed through their designing equipments of fundamentally the madrasa and the very loud feelings, loud, too much ado about nothing in capital letters. Quote unquote William Shakespeare. His the name of one of his plays. So Pakistan gets always the negative impact of terror attack in most cases. This, of course, is typically a kind of repetition of Pahalgam, and the narrative starts. There was a very interesting narrative, though it did not run for a long time. The narrative is that initially the Pakistanis just claimed that these two terrorists have Indian roots. They wanted to say that they are not Lahoris, they are not Pakistanis. They just said that, but then that did vanish. That way, every Pakistani has Indian roots. Every Pakistani has Indian roots, not just Indian roots. They have Hindu roots. Only thing, they conveniently detach themselves from their Hindu roots to become barbarians. That is the case. Now, there had been a marathon run towards justifying or concealing the intensity of such terror attacks on a general in Pakistan. It happened before also. There will be lies, deceits, and propaganda that had been going on. And at the same time, they would keep blaming Bharat for everything. That had been a normal phenomenon with them, nothing special and nothing appalling to us, nothing strange to us. It used to the attitude of Pakistanis. They try to say that terrorism has no religion. They will have all those narratives and they will say religion per se is innocent. All those things are all right. Nobody is going to, no one is speaking against anybody's any religion. As a matter of fact, it's not the religion that we are pointing at. It's a kind of religious teachers Pakistan has. They're not scholars. Scholars won't do such things. Or a scholar proper can't or wouldn't do such things. It's not quite possible, provided that scholar is genuine to himself or honest to himself. So it's not a question of scholars. It's a question of those instrumental teachers who impart their version of religion to young minds. And anything what that nitwit fancies would be put into the minds of people. That is the beginning of terrorism. I would say that. So that Pakistan has to check. Pakistan, instead of whitewashing terror phenomenon, granted that in Pakistani society terrorism is a fourth estate, and that is also a source of income to their officials, both military and civil, who make a living out of anything and carry the money abroad and live there. They don't belong to, they don't emotionally belong to the nation, in spite of another funny thing that these people claim to be emotional. But then they don't emotionally belong to the land, to their nation. They don't have a nation concept because they can't have a nation concept. That's a different lengthy debate. They're originally Bharatiya, and the moment they detach themselves from Bharatiya Sanskriti, they cease to be what they're supposed to be. That is simple as that. So these people don't belong. They would like to escape. Look at the recent phenomenon of an entire crew of Pakistan International Airlines or Airways something. They have deserted the entire crew from A to Z of this particular flight, deserted, left the plane in the tarmac or somewhere, or hangar probably if they got a hangar, and deserted. Went and reported to the police that we are not going back. Sought asylum. They claim rightly that it has become impossible for them to exist in Pakistan. But like Sajid Tarad, one of the so-called journalists of Pakistan who doesn't live in Pakistan, says that, and it's very rightly he says, very few times he speaks truth when it comes to Pakistan. Objectively, otherwise he is good. I have heard him a few times. He was telling that Pakistanis, when they migrate and go abroad, they don't cease to carry the Pakistani negativity. Let me broadly call the entire negative things into one concept of negativity. They don't cease to carry that negativity. They don't shun it. What happens is, when they enter into a European civilized society, European society like thing, instead of adopting to that society, they would reenact what had been implanted in their mind through their madrasa education by some nitwit mullahs. There is hardly any exceptions to this. Hardly any exceptions. One exception is that Ajaki, Arif Ajaki, I think his name is. He is originally from Junagadh, Gujarat, and then he had migrated to Pakistan. Maybe his ancestors had migrated to Pakistan, and he had done Gharwapasi. He had become a Sanatani after leaving Islam. So there are very exceptions, and I don't think he also lives in Pakistan. I don't know, but there are very few exceptions. So on a general, the Pakistanis, in spite of their getting migrated to European countries, they continue to carry the Pakistani negative connotations instead of blending, mixing, or adapting to the new environment. So this, of course, creates problem for not for Pakistanis, those who are migrants, creates problem for the society which receives them as migrants. Of course, it becomes a problem of these two, not a matter to be discussed here for want of time. Thus, what I would say is, Pakistani people who has some sanity left in them ought to think that, ought to do something, get into some introspection, and somehow you can't get the help of your rulers, your social leaders, your social structure. You have to begin something of a cleansing of mind in Pakistan, getting people to introspect and wash away the fanatic separatist negative connotations created from supposed to be religion and implanted in you. It's a hard job. Probably you will need tremendous psychiatric help. But then this movement, if you don't start now, it at least for coming 2 generations, if you start this moment in in time of work, obviously, and of course in time, you would escape from this kind of self alienation. Go back to your Sanskriti. I'm not asking you to change your religion, but reinvent your religion into your social fabric. Try to reinvent the religion instead of copying from another land which is not yours. The culture is not yours. You have a culture, you had a culture at least. So reinvent that into your society so that you will perfectly get into natural existence. Keep your religion in whatever way you want, but keep the culture which you are supposed to be having, which you have lost completely, but you can recreate and reinvent it. There should be some mechanisms in Pakistani society for that. For instance, you have an example right under your nose. Look at Tajikistan. They were also equally suffering like you for one time, for some day. But since they were under the Soviet communist compulsion, they were not that completely destroyed. The present Tajikistan, they are, I think, almost 100% Muslims, but they prefer their culture. They have their own distinct culture. Whatever it is, they have their own distinct culture, dress pattern, distinct cultural names, etc. Everything of their own. So instead of copying an Arabic kind of things, not because of aversion to Arabic, but since you have already one that of your own, why borrow for no particular reason? You remain in your religion, but discover yourselves. Recreate through reinvestigating your own self-essence, which is also your self-esteem. Until this is done in Pakistan, your society have no redemption. I'm just telling, because you are once separated from us, whether you like it or not, your emotions betray you. Your emotions are spurious. That's why we are compelled to call you Lahoris, too loud of nothing. I hope somebody with some kind of sense will have to start this program in Pakistan of initiating some kind of self-discovery, not at the cost of your religion or faith system, but recreating your cultural values which your ancestors possessed. It's not alien to you. You have adopted something alien to you, so there is this contradiction. Once you have your own, there will be spontaneity and you will understand how to coexist. We shall meet again. Namaste. Jai Bharat, Jai Shri Ram.